This is the DTV Digest, the podcast that brings you news and reviews of films which didn't make it to the cinema. And now, here's your host, Mike Parkin.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the DTV Digest. I'm your host, Mike Parkin, and joining me tonight are Richard Halls.
Hello, everyone.
And Stephen Lockridge.
Hello.
This week, we've got three main releases to talk about. We're going to kick off with The Ledge. Then we've got Pierce Brosnan in The Misfits and a French thriller called Restless. Our short shot this week is Jester Must Die, and our DTV throwback is Deep Freeze. So without further ado, let's crack on. Our first film this week then is The Ledge. Whilst on a mountaineering trip in Italy, a young climber witnesses a murder and must scale a mountain to try and evade the killers. This is the latest film from Howard J. Ford, guys. It's a director I've got a lot of time for. He and his brother made the Dead films, the Dead 1 and Dead 2. The first one was set in Africa, the second one was set in India during a zombie apocalypse. Both definitely worth checking out. It also did a film called Never Let Go, which I believe we've covered on this show, Rich.
I think we did. I remember seeing that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I haven't seen the Dead movies, but yeah, Never Let Go was an action thriller.
Yeah, it was very good. And this is another sort of film with a sort of female protagonist. I've got a lot of time for this. I think it was a cracking idea, and I think it is mostly well executed. But let's go with Rich.
Yeah, I was quite interested to see it. You know, it's got that imagery of a woman hanging on a cliff face, basically, as the sort of poster, and the concept is essentially along with lines of, you know, stuff like The Shallows, you know, a woman in peril, you know, how's she going to get out of this situation, kind of thing, completely isolated and cut off. I didn't realize going in that it was going to have this, you know, bunch of guys, you know, the guy types attempted rape, you know, kind of thing, and you know, a murder and all that sort of thing happening. So it's not the film I expected going in. So I was a bit surprised. You know, I was very entertained the whole time, but it played out in a different manner to which I was expecting.
So you're expecting just sort of woman against the elements kind of thing? And, you know.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, there was a film a few years ago which immediately came to mind, which was A Lonely Place to Die.
Yes.
With Melissa George, which, funnily enough, I hadn't seen.
All right.
And now that I have seen it, I also realised I had completely the wrong thing in mind of what that film actually was, because that film is nothing like what I was expecting. It's not a woman alone against the elements or whatever in the same way that this one is. It's completely different.
I love that film. It's good.
So this film has some budgetary limitations. It does look a bit. It does have that kind of styrofoam mountain kind of look about it. But in fairness, so did Vertical Limit. So I think I quite like these kind of mountain sort of set movies, like Vertical Limit, and you know, we've had sort of more other outdoorsy kind of stuff like Deadly Pursuit and things like that. This is a cast of unknowns. It's a bit on the nose, perhaps at times, a bit over the top at times, but I had a really good time with it. I thought it was very entertaining. It was never a dull moment, really. Although I did question some of the characters and their motivations and stuff. And but they do try to address it. I don't think it works. I think it's a bit too much at times. But you know, very thrilling, definitely.
It's the thing about the guys in the film. You're absolutely right. You know, there's this sort of element amongst them of like boys will be boys kind of thing. You know, so they're kind of enabling their own bad behaviour until they hit their limit. But by which time it's kind of too late. You know, when one takes things a bit, you know, even further kind of thing. And when they do try and sort of like put an end to it, that there are opportunities for them just to walk off the mountain and leave the guy behind, just get on with their lives. But no, boys will be boys, bros will be bros, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, there are a couple of issues with sort of motivation and characteristics, but yeah, you're absolutely right. The main character, whose name escapes me, yes, Brittany Ashworth as Kelly, does really well, basically. And I love all the actual sort of mountaineering bits. I thought worked really well. There were a couple of moments where they didn't quite wring the right amount of tension out of a scene, but for most of it, it works really well. I could overlook any sort of like, as you say, sort of styrofoam mountain kind of stuff. There are a few scenes where they sort of keep it quite close, so you don't realize that what you're actually seeing is a set rather than actually on the mountain. But no, I absolutely love this. Yeah, I love this sort of film. Steve, you watched part of this. I mean, was it just so like your time ran out, or you lost interest?
Yeah. No, just not had a chance to finish it off. I think I watched about the first 20 minutes to, the attempted rape. Just about a minute after that, I saw. To be fair, it seemed all right. Obviously the main guy I thought was just an absolute prick, and
yeah,
like you say, I mean, straight off, he's the prick. He's gonna be whatever. And then there was like the other guy who was actually, trying to phone the police and trying to sort it out, and then the other two are like, no, they're just enabling him basically. But yeah, that was all I saw really.
There's a bit, Rich, where he sort of the main bad guy played by Ben Lamb, plays Joshua. There's a bit where he just before they sort of chase after Kelly up the mountain, he goes back to the cabin to supposedly get his gloves, and later on, one of them kind of realizes what he's done without actually saying what he's done. And you'd think that would be the moment where they go, fuck this guy, let's go. There's no reason for us to be on a mountain with this psychopath at all. But anyway, how are you going to score it, guys? Rich?
I had a really good time with it, so I'm going to give it an 8.
Yeah, I'm going to join you on an 8. I thought this was great fun. Steve, based on what you've seen?
I can't give it a finger. No.
Fair enough. Okay, 2 8s for The Ledge. Go check it out. Our next film is The Misfits. An experienced thief is recruited by a team of Robin Hoods to help them pull off an impossible heist. This has recently turned up on Amazon Prime, and I think you can kind of see why. Steve?
Yeah, it's your typical glossy, gang of thieves getting together to pull off a heist against the terrorist organization, really, in this one. And it was okay. I mean, you knew what was coming, you knew it was happening. I thought the performances were quite good, except Nick Cannon, who I thought was dreadful, and just trying to, just throw out every racial stereotype with his disguises and stuff like that. Everyone else is okay. I mean, Tim Roth's literally doing a Bruce Willis turn up for like 2 days.
He does move a bit more than Bruce.
Oh, yeah,
he leans his head to the side.
I'm not saying it in a bad way, because I think it's Tim Roth. He can't put in a bad performance,
True.
And I thought Pierce Brosnan was great. The rest of the crew were great. It was literally just Nick Cannon just really, really annoyed me. But I thought the direction was great from Rennie Harlin. And I like the fact that the actual heist takes place inside a prison as well, which is not something I've really seen before.
Yeah.
I mean, I get getting the story why they did it and how they did it and stuff like that, which I thought was pretty good. And the heist itself seemed a little bit short. I mean, it's not a long film, really. It was about 97 minutes, I think it was. Something like that.
94 minutes.
94, yeah. But the heist doesn't really happen till the last, 20, 25 minutes. And it just seemed over a little bit quick. But all in all, it passed the time easily enough. It was okay. Nothing to write home about, but yeah, not bad.
Rich, what do you make of it?
It reminded me a bit of the Shanghai Job that we watched with Orlando Bloom.
And Simon Yam, yeah.
Yeah, I think that different kind of movie, but it had sort of a similar premise. It's one of these sort of post Ocean's 11 movies. This one's got some interesting aspects to it in that it's at least partially funded by the United Arab Emirates. So it's in part a showcase or travelogue sort of film promoting was it Abu Dhabi?
Yeah.
See,
it's interesting because a couple of Jackie Chan's films have ended up doing that. Sort of Kung Fu Yoga and was it the Vanguard? Yeah. And if they didn't, if they weren't taking the money, they were desperately seeking it out. They were certainly courting favors. Both of those films, but yeah, no, it's a wonderful location.
Yeah, I mean, Fast and Furious went over there as well.
That's true.
It's got the glamour and gloss, isn't it? It's like the super.
the
supercars for taxis and stuff like that.
Yeah, and nothing really spells decadence and glamour like a beautiful woman who's like a supermodel with a bloody cheetah on a leash, just walking casually through.
That's some stupid stuff.
That was ridiculous. It was brilliant.
Sorry, mate. I was just going to say, I also like the fact that the hard man is basically a woman as well. I thought that was well done. But go on, Rich. Sorry.
No. There's some interesting. There was an interesting when I was looking up the film. There was an article on Al Jazeera saying how that they did a report saying that it was anti-Qatar propaganda. For me, watching it, I didn't really pick up on that too much, but they do sort of portray the other.
Well, it's a made up state.
Jazeeristan, but I think it's to represent. I think it's supposed to represent Qatar or something. Anyway, but if
that's the case, then Qatar are basically saying, "Yeah, we're full of dictators and thieves and terrorists."
Well, no, I think that's the opposite. That's the other area or something. They're in conflict. I don't know much about it anyway, but.
Well, you will in the summer when the World Cup's set there.
Oh, the other thing is it's Rennie Harlin, behind the camera. So I haven't seen a Rennie Harlin film for quite a while because
Skyfire.
No, that was Simon West.
Simon West, that.
Oh, sure. Yeah, sorry.
The thing about Rennie Harlin is he kind of left Hollywood and started working elsewhere in doing a lot of work in China. A few of his films haven't been released yet, I don't think, but he did like Skip Trace with Jackie Chan, which I haven't checked out.
That's right.
But there's one called Bodies at Rest, I think, which is a thriller yet to emerge, and one or two others, I think, because I think he was setting up like a production company or something in China last time I heard. Anyway, so I think I haven't seen a Rennie Harlin film. I'm just looking at his filmography since 12 Rounds in 2009, so that's pretty crazy.
Oh my god!
But yeah,
so you haven't seen The Legend of Hercules with Scott Adkins?
Nope, not yet. No, that's is that Kellen Lutz as well?
Yeah.
No, I haven't seen that one yet. Is it worth it?
No, but it's worth it for Scott. Scott and his beard, basically.
Does that you think Rennie Harlin? You think? I mean, Scott Adkins and Rennie Harlin. That's quite
should be a match made in heaven.
Is that a film that has this kind of big blockbustery kind of look? Because I imagine that's a much lower budget, but I might be wrong on that.
It has some moments, but the Rock Hercules movie is a lot better.
Okay. So this is, Rennie Harlin is at home with these sort of big canvases and or the Hollywood style thing, and he does, he pulls that off just as well as he had, during his heyday, I would say, or even stuff like Mindhunters. A bunch of characters made with several recognizable actors and whatever. It's quite brisk. I don't think it lands necessarily. Some of it just doesn't quite. You got to. It's a comedy. You know that from the start. I don't think it helps that the title makes you think of The Losers, with Jeffrey Dean Morgan and stuff. But I think it is a different kind of movie. But you do think of, oh, this is something I've seen before, and the whole film is kind of got that feel to it. But I think the location and stuff does bring something a little bit interesting and novel to it, even if it's not a great movie. I will say about the cast, Pierce Brosnan leads the cast. And is it just me, or can he not decide what accent he's doing? Because at some points he's English, and at other points he's like really doing an American thing. It's like it's one of the wobbliest accents that I feel like I've seen since like Dennis Hopper in Ticker, when he's 1 minute he's supposed to be an Irish terrorist, but he keeps forgetting to do the accent, and he's and this is it's almost like is he supposed to be playing it as American but keeps forgetting and doing his English. I know he's Irish, but his English accent, and or was he? Did they sort of not know when they were filming? It's like do this like a Roger Moore kind of thing. Very refined. Thomas Crown Affair and all that sort of thing. Cat burglar, or or criminal. Charming thief, and at times he just goes with these Americanisms and sort of adds in the accent and stuff. So that was really, really unusual. I thought it was a bit weird that Jamie Chung is kind of set up as his love interest throughout the film and sort of led into at the end. And it's like she's 30 years younger than he is.
Yeah, I think she's like about the same age as his daughter, isn't she, basically?
Well, see, that I thought that she was going to get with her daughter at one point. When in the hotel room, like laying low. Yeah, and I thought, well,
he does. But she does make a point of saying she's not really interested in men.
Yeah.
So
the actress playing the daughter is 10 years younger than Jamie Chung, but that doesn't necessarily make it right. It still doesn't quite. It still doesn't quite see. And I don't mean I mean historically that would be always the case, but I think in this day and age, there's some choices in this film that are a bit dated, and one of them is that, and the other is, as Steve mentioned, Nick Cannon and his, playing into the racial stereotypes, kind of, doing the Eddie Murphy shtick kind of thing that just doesn't really fit very well.
Do you think? Did you find it a bit weird that the main character is Pierce Brosnan and yet the film's been narrated by somebody else?
By Nick Cannon, yeah.
I found that very strange.
Well, it basically is up until Pierce Brosnan appears. It's Nick Cannon doing the voiceover and everything like that, and then they just forget about that until like the last 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Well, Nick Cannon is like one of. This is the sort of the concept thing of the Misfits, and they sort of introduce the characters and they say that, and then they kind of say, "Oh yeah, we were brought in by this guy to be this team," but they don't really elaborate on it. It's just kind of a bit, bit wishy-washy. The whole concept of, and the prince and all that sort of, it's very wishy-washy.
I was kind of glad they were already a team though by the time he turned up.
And then Pierce Brosnan is the one that they're going to recruit to join them, so he can't really narrate it because he's not part of them yet, unless they sort of restructure the story. So I guess that's what it is. It's just one of those, they've tried to use the comical narration to sort of hook you in and stuff.
I must admit, I didn't mind Nick Cannon too much in his shtick at the beginning. That sort of comedy narration kind of thing I thought worked okay, but at the same time I'm kind of glad they dropped it after a while. It could have been very tiring if they continued with it. I enjoyed this overall. It is very light. It is it's basically Leverage the movie, sort of with a few more sort of glamorous locations. I think half of Leverage's seasons are set in Portland, Oregon. Sort of a million miles away from
They need to be on the French Riviera, don't they?
Yeah, exactly. But no, Leverage is a good series, and I love this sort of heist thing where it's sort of like smoke and mirrors kind of thing. What's actually going on? Don't know. Yeah, that all worked for me. Interestingly, this was co-written by Kurt Wimmer, who directed films like Equilibrium.
I suspect it might have been an old script that got dusted
It could have
off.
been. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he hasn't done much for a while, I don't think, has he? Oh, Kurt.
Last thing he did was Point Break remake.
Yeah, he did. He wrote that.
Well, apparently he's directed a Children of the Corn remake, which has never been released yet over here. But that was the first film he directed since Ultraviolet in 2006, and we all know how that turned out.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he did make what he did do One Tough Bastard with Brian Bosworth.
That's true.
Which will always be pretty cool to me that he did that.
Indeed. Yeah,
but yeah, so there's him credited, and the other writer is Robert Henney, and that might have been I'm wondering if the Kurt was sort of dusted off and he did a rewrite on it, or it looks like he's probably the guy responsible for a lot of the comedy in it, because he seems to be a very his writing seems to be sort of very geared towards comedy, kids stuff as well, Lego and Who's Your Caddy, which I think was directed by Don Michael Paul, a lot of comedy sort of stuff. So he's probably responsible for a lot of the humor, which I don't think necessarily works, but it's like you got like that end scene of the scene at the end where they're all sort of talking around that the scene you've seen a million times where they're all sitting around at the end sort of ha ha ha, and having a laugh and stuff with umbrellas and cocktails and stuff. I just felt that scene felt really awkward. It's like, yeah, are you one of us? It's like, yes, I guess I am. I'm not sure. It didn't seem to play out as well as they were hoping. It was like, it was sort of it wasn't like, yeah, it was like, okay. It's like, I'm not really sold on that, but that kind of sums up the movie, I guess. It's just kind of
and that's why it went straight to Prime, basically, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't think it deserves all the bad. I've seen it's like low rated on like Rotten Tomatoes and all this sort of stuff. I don't think it's that bad. I mean, I don't think it's bad at all. Pierce Brosnan's made a lot. He makes some ropey films these days, but I think this is perfectly fine for what it is. It's a lively, frothy, colourful.
It's a light heist movie with minimal threat. Basically, minimal peril.
It's just a bit dated in some of what it's trying to do.
Exactly. And on that note, scores on the doors. Steve?
I'll give it a 6.
Rich?
I'm leaning towards a 6. I've got to be honest. 6.
I can't miss the chance of giving this 3 6s. This is perfectly fine. It's on Amazon Prime. It gets 3 6s from us. That's 666. Ha ha ha.
Yep.
Go check it out. Our next film is Restless. A corrupt cop finds himself having possibly the worst day of his life. Not only are internal affairs taking a keen interest in his activities, but he also runs down a stranger while on his way to pay his last respects to his dead mother. And things only get worse from there. Okay, so we've just had a film on Amazon Prime, and now we're flicking the channels over to Netflix. This is a French thriller based on a Korean film, I believe.
Yes.
Which I'm not sure what the name is.
A Hard Day.
Oh, I don't think I've seen that, but I've heard of it. I love this. There's some sort of really interesting sort of comedy moments, which we'll get into. But yeah, this is like the worst day possible, isn't it? Rich, over to you. No, sorry, Steve, over to
you. I did enjoy this actually. The only thing that did disappoint me a bit is like the first half hour. There's quite a bit of like farce involved in it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like you say, with his child's toy and his balloons and things like that, and that kind of dragged it down a bit for me. But as soon as you get past that, I thought it turned into a really decent little thriller, and I thought the actual main bad guy was actually quite menacing. I thought he played his part really well. I thought the main guy was great, such a really good anti-hero in a way, and yeah, it just flew by. They ratchet the tension up really quite well. Like I said, the only thing that disappointed me was the slightly farcical bits in like the first 20 minutes, half hour. It was just a little bit, come on, the toy being mistaken for like a machine gun fire in a morgue, things like that. It was just a little bit too on the nose for me. But apart from that, really enjoyed it.
I liked that whole fast bit at the beginning, I must admit. He thinks he's being completely genius by using his kid's toy to pull the the body through the air duct, and it was a great plan. It was a great plan of getting him in the building, but of course, what he didn't know was that every now and again that soldier's got to stop and start firing its gun. I just thought that was hilarious when that first happened. But yeah, no, that whole thing. And then when he gets the body in the coffin and then his phone starts going off, he's like, oh, for God's sake. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. It just, I think for what it was trying to do, that it just didn't sit right with me, that bit,
Yeah, I mean, I kind of get your point with the fact that I suppose it probably would sound almost like gunfire, because it's in that in that sort of echoey air duct kind of thing. So it probably did sound a bit more realistic than it would have done. But yeah, I think it was more to the point that he was still there and they didn't think anyone was still around, and sort of weird sounds coming from it. But no, I enjoyed that, and the whole film itself sort of really gelled together. Yeah, this is a lot of fun. Rich, over to you, mate.
Yeah, as you guys have already indicated, I did find it a film of two halves. I'm going in and I'm expecting this sort of hard, the French make really good.
Exactly, that's what the French are known for. In cinema terms, it's the hard-boiled police procedurals.
Yeah, so that's what I was expecting going in, and then it turns out to be this kind of black comedy, basically, comedy of errors sort of thing happening. But it does shift gears. I didn't mind that first bit. It was just a bit disconcerting. I mean, it introduces a character. He's, corrupt. He's pretty cool looking. He's got this, very cool
jacket,
blue jacket kind of thing going on. Very slick. I haven't seen the original Korean version, but you can imagine that, the Korean lead was, pretty well turned out himself in that. And that's possibly, a direct reference there, and the comedy as well. You could see that coming from a Korean source, but that would also fit with a French audience because they quite like a lot of that sort of humor as well. But then it does, it does this shifting gears thing and turns into and it kind of drops the comedy almost completely. The dark comedy, I should say. It's not like comedy, but it does sort of drop it, and it's like there's some. I mean, it becomes like sequence after sequence of excellent. Thrills. It's a proper. There's a fantastic scene where the hero or anti-hero is pursued by a car in a parking garage. It's like fantastically executed. There's a fight in toilets in the toilets. Which gets really. And what's great is that he's. Normally the hero would be sort of dominating the fight, and he's really not. It's like he's fighting somebody who's older than him, but is more physically imposing, and it just sort of basically, it doesn't go the way you think it might. If they remade this in the UK, I can see him as being Jason Statham, but you would have to, you wouldn't be able to have it play out in the same way because it wouldn't work, because you wouldn't be convinced. But because the guy he's fighting is basically, imagine if Jason Statham was fighting Alfred Molina, and Alfred Molina was like wiping the floor with him. You know, it's like it wouldn't quite come across, but here it actually works because this guy is like a piece of work. You know, he's great. And then by the time you get to the end of the movie, you feel like you're watching The Hitcher or something. You know, it's like really intense and like, you know, fire and stuff. It's like so well done. And a bit comical again, sort of towards the end. But yeah, I was really sold on this. By the time I got into that second and third act, I was like just thinking, wow, you know, a lot. And I thought it was excellent. The other thing to say is that this is the fourth version of the film. So you got the original version. It was remade in China as Peacebreaker, then in the Philippines as A Hard Day Again, and now it's and what I thought was interesting is usually it's the other way around. Usually it's Korea remaking the French.
Because we had what's it called now? The
Point Blank's been remade.
Point Blank, which is it was a Korean version of that plus an American version with Frank Grillo
and an Indian version. There's been
really,
yeah. There's been again 4 versions. So I can, you know, there's clearly a reason why this has worked, why it's been made 4 times. It's a good story. I mean, it also does that stuff with the character where it sort of sets him up in one way and then it kind of changes your perspective on the character. But you still, in this case, they kind of don't sell it out too much. You know, they don't dilute it too much. He is, you know, he's introduced as a corrupt cop basically, and he is. You know, they don't change that. They don't kind of backtrack on it. So, actually, he was pretending, or he was undercover.
What was that? What was that Jamie Foxx remake? Sleepless. Yeah, because that's what they did on that one, didn't they? They changed it. Yeah, they changed the character so that actually he's an undercover cop.
Right, I don't know. I'm honestly not sure if I ever saw the Jamie Foxx version because I loved the original.
Yeah, the original's brilliant.
Yeah, I think we covered that. The other thing I will say is, come on, his mate who worked in the police. Tell me you didn't think of Seth Rogen like all the time every time you saw him. He's like a dead ringer.
That was quite funny as well. It's interesting how they played with his character because you know, we've seen this sort of thing before, like where the best mate, the partner is actually the dirty one, sort of thing, you know, or he's going to betray him. So you never know with this character. There are a few sort of key scenes where, you know, he goes to visit the guy's sister, and he's sort of saying, "Well, where is he then? You know, I don't know," and all this. You know, you think, "Well, why are you there, really?" You know, that sort of thing. But again, you know, it doesn't play out the way you expect it to do, which is really cool.
How did you feel about the other supporting character, the sort of new girl who's sort of learning?
I thought she was really good.
Yeah, I thought so too. Yeah. And again,
she's got some character progression, hasn't she? It starts out, she's quite green. You know, she's being, you know, she's kind of representing the audience. She's the one that they're kind of explaining stuff to, and you know, we're a family, we look after for each other, and all that sort of stuff. You know, and she's a lot more of an idealist, and she's sort of seeing how grey everything gets, and then so I thought that it wasn't entirely necessary. I don't think, but I did quite like it. She seemed like her character was not as well developed as I think we've seen in other films. You know, they do a bit more with her.
I think she's sort of meant to be sort of a moral compass kind of thing, wasn't she?
Yeah,
so, But no, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Very good. And, you know, we've said before, like on the last show, you know, Netflix does get these weird and wonderful films. They do seem to have a good eye for this kind of thing.
This was directed by a director I'm not familiar, Regis Blondo. Butchered that name. A cinematographer. I'm just having a quick look at what else he might have done, but nothing's ringing. It doesn't look like this is sort of his wheelhouse generally.
This is his first film as a director.
Right, so this is his debut. Apart from
he's been mostly a cinematographer.
Oh he hasn't done anything else. So cinematographer since the early 90s. So that, you know, the film looks,
he knows his way around a film set, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, considering, you know, he's not directed a a film before, let alone a thriller or whatever. I think you know
it's a damn good
it's
debut.
a damn good debut, isn't it? I mean, really good. I mean, if I would like, I mean, he seems the sort of guy who the next film could be anything. But I hope he does another thriller. I think that would be really good to see.
Absolutely. Okay, scores on the doors. Steve.
7.
And Rich.
Yeah, I'm going to go another 8 on this one, but it's a higher 8 than The Ledge. You know, it's really good. It's like borderline 9.
Yeah, this is an 8 for me as well. Very, very solid stuff. I can see myself watching again. Just as an aside, A Hard Day, the original Korean version, is available on Amazon Prime to rent. So yeah, you know, if you feel that way inclined to want to see what the original's like, you can find it on. I'm sure other streaming services probably carry it as well, but I've just noticed it's on there. So yeah, so 2 8s and a 7 for Restless. Go check it out if you're a Netflix subscriber. Our short shot this week is Jester Must Die. When a bodyguard rescues the kidnapped daughter of his gangster boss, he sees an opportunity to help her escape his clutches for good, but must hope that his boss never finds out. I fucking love this little short. Absolutely superb. This, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people are going to go, "Oh, John Wick," kind of thing, because you know the sort of ballistics, shall we say, on show. But for me, this goes beyond the sheen of John Wick. This sort of dives more into John Woo territory, because we got that sort of brothers bonded in blood kind of element to it. So we got these characters, sort of Jester and his partner, whose name I'm just going to get, called Cross, played by the director Michael Lehr. And they're just so in tune with each other. You know, there's this brilliant sort of gun battle and kung fu and all the rest of it going, and the way they sort of like act in unison, I just thought was superb. I absolutely love this. I think the storytelling was great, the acting was great, the action was off the charts. Steve.
Yeah, I agree with you. The action was fantastic. I think the only slight thing is at some points it did look a little bit cheap. You know, like the CGI blood squibs and stuff like that. But apart from that, yeah, I thought it was very enjoyable. But I thought the choreography was absolutely fantastic.
Not surprising, since this guy, the director of this, he also did the choreography for films like Extraction with Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah.
And a few others. So yeah,
yeah.
This guy's he's at
makes
the top
sense.
of his game, really.
Yeah, makes sense. I mean, if he doesn't get, you know, a feature from this, I'll be very, very surprised. You know, it probably is just a proof of concept or whatever, but it was really impressive. Especially like some of the outdoor, you know, like the pool scene. I thought that bit worked really well, and also like the fight inside the house and stuff like that. Yeah, it was really, really, really enjoyable.
Yeah, it was
really
top
good.
Notch.
Yeah.
Rich, this is another one where we're kind of left hanging and definitely wanting more.
Yeah, it's clearly labeled on YouTube and video as a proof of concept, but I think it works as a standalone if that doesn't happen.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
It's got a plot that sort of wraps up. You know, it's a film with as I've said before, I like it then when there's a beginning, middle, and end. This has got like all those components. It's non-linear, so it sort of mixes things up a bit. You've got to try and put the sequence of events in order a little bit, because it kind of flashes back and to and fro. It starts out in black and white, and then with a kind of what's essentially the sort of prologue, introducing the character. It's one of those movies. It's the whole hitman looking after a little girl kind of story again. You know, we've seen that a lot.
Yeah, Man on Fire, all sorts. Yeah.
Yeah, but it does actually. it does actually go somewhere.
Yeah.
It does, it covers quite a fair amount of ground in its short running time. Leaves it, with a little. It's got like an emotional core to it, which is quite good, along with the action. The guy who's the lead is not somebody not really been familiar with the director, to be honest. Michael Lehr is the director, but the star is Adam Sleman.
That's right.
And he wrote it as well. He's kind of does all sorts, I think. But so his capabilities in the action was also quite unexpected. So he equipped himself quite well. Him and his partner in the movie, they, as you say, they go to this house. There's kind of a debt collector's sort of vibe to it.
Yeah. This guy's been ripping off their boss. Their boss is called Three Piece, isn't he? So he wears a three-piece suit. Yeah,
which is pretty good.
Yeah.
That's all played out. It is a bit like you could make a debt collector's style movie from this, but with more
gunfire,
core and gunfire stuff. I don't know if you spotted, but we got Amy Johnson in there.
Yeah, in a non-fighting role, purely acting role, which is really interesting, and she does really well with it as well.
And Brian Sloyer is one of the guys. Is one of the one of the fighters, guys in the fight scene, and Jay Kwan, I think, who was in. I probably got his name wrong, but who was in Sifu that we talked about. On the other show.
That's right.
A freak who's also a collaborator of Brian Sloyer, who's a director of excellent action shorts in his own right. So these guys all sort of travel in the same circles. So the guy in the lead, well, that was a bit of a surprise because he's not quite what you expect. The plot and that is quite typical but well executed. I think it's very stylishly shot. It's got a nice sort of calm, ending, contemplative kind of ending on it. I think it's a great little package, and I really hope that it does lead to more things for everyone involved.
The most recognizable face on this is the guy playing Three Piece. It's an actor called Cooper Andrews, who had a couple of years doing The Walking Dead. And a number of other things as well.
I'm not familiar with him, but he's a huge guy. He plays it really well. He kind of underplays it, if anything, I thought.
Oh yeah, he was a brilliant. He's definitely that sort of kingpin kind of character. I thought he's even like one scene, but his voice carries really well, and he's got a hell of a lot of sort of menace to him. So he was really good. Yeah, the action stuff was great. Absolutely loved it. This is a great little short. I wish they'd changed the title to Jester Must Not Die. That's how I felt by the end of it. But I really, really hope they were able to sort of do either a sequel to this or push it into a feature. That'd be absolutely superb.
He's going to be the director, Michael Lehr. He's fight coordinator on Samaritan, the upcoming sort of superhero movie from Sylvester Stallone, and he's working on Bullet Train, and he's done an episode of The Continental. So that's that John Wick sort of connection.
Oh, that's the John Wick thing, isn't it?
But cool. He's, as you say, he's done stuff like Extraction and stuff in the past. Fast and Furious. He was a Fast and Furious 9. He was a fight coordinator on and stuff. So, this guy knows his stuff. And
he's working at the top level, isn't he? Basically, these sort of very big budget films that he's involved in.
He's got a lot of experience, and he brings it all to this 16-minute film. I mean, it's not the only thing he has directed a few other shorts before, but I think this is the sort of most action-centric that I've come across of those. And hopefully he'll get, if not turning this into a web series or a feature, maybe it might get him another directing gig, like a Mortal Kombat or whatever it might be. You know what I'm saying? He's definitely got the chops.
Absolutely, definitely. Okay, so we do not scare. We do. Excuse me. Okay, we do not score the shorts, but we do recommend them, and we certainly recommend you this one. You will find a link to it in the footnotes below. Go check it out. Our DTV throwback this week is Deep Freeze. On an Antarctic drilling platform, a group of grad students arrive to undertake new research roles, only to discover that the deep drill has awoken something deep under the ice. I did this. I recommended this film for everyone to watch. It's my fault. Right, no, I'm going to blame Rich. But Rich was saying, "Hey, Mike, what should we do as a throwback?" And I just sort of picked films at random off Amazon. So this is what we've ended up with. Steve, how did you rate this masterpiece?
To be honest, I did have fun with it. You know, it's a Thing rip-off set on a supposedly drilling station, but what looks more like a high school. And there's absolutely no money involved. There's no acting talent involved as such. But yeah, it was okay. You know, I did have fun with it. I mean, there's one thing that I did find really, really annoying though, is when the creature attacks. For some reason, for the first hour and 20 minutes, you don't see it, and it's just like, I don't know. It's not flashbacks or flash forward.
It's just weird shit, isn't it? Yeah, and I was wondering if it was like meant to be like their life flashing before their eyes, or at least the last 20 minutes of their life flashing before their eyes. Yeah, it was a weird sort of motif to use. Yeah.
But I mean, I think the scene that impressed me the most was like the after sex scene, where the girl turns around and the monster just like bursts out of her chest and attacks him. Really, that bit I thought was actually quite handled quite well. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. It's not big, it's not clever, it's not expensive, but it's just a bit of beer and pizza on a Friday night fun, really. And yeah, it was okay. You know, I mean, I kind of like the effects at the end with when the big monster came out of the pool. I mean, that was done quite well as well. But you got your stereotypical, your jock type scientist, and then your crazy German scientist who knows what's going on, but nobody believes him.
It's
your bit of aliens thrown in there as well. With a bad corporation guy who knows what's going on and he's trying to get the creatures out of there. And yeah, it was what it was.
It's an interesting, it's an interesting mix. I agree. It is a film you can have fun with. I mean, if you approach it the right way, there are, it would make a good one for like a drunken commentary, I think.
Yeah,
there are some sort of classic bits. There's a scene early on where the pilot guy is talking to the main scientist woman in German. They're having a sort of conversation in German, and just all of a sudden just switch to English. Yeah. It's like, well, we've established we're German. Now let's switch to English for no apparent reason.
I wonder if because the film was partially German funded, and they got two German actors in it.
Yeah.
One of whom, Alexandra Camp, is not in it as long as I thought she might be. But I think they might have shot some. I mean, it's the opening scene. The opening lines of the film are in German, which is quite interesting. Yeah. But I wonder if they might have done that like for the trailer or something, so that they can do the trailer and show these, German actors and market it to
possibly.
them. Possibly. I don't know. I haven't seen the trailer, or the German trailer, I should say. But that's the only thing I could think of with that. Or is it a what do you call it? Hunt for Red October kind of thing, where but they don't do a transition effect.
Exactly. Just switch mid conversation.
That did seem a bit weird.
One thing I did like, that particular character, like you said, Steve. There's one guy who's, it's almost like he's watched the movie already. Or he knows exactly what sort of movie he's in, because these grad students turn up sort of like after the sort of initial attack and stuff that's going on, and these grad students turn up, and he just lays it all out. It's going, you guys are just totally inexperienced. They're going, but we know how to do this. They go, but there's training courses. We could get experienced people to do a training course and get them on board. I thought that was brilliant. It was just a brilliant bit of writing. And then even the grad students that are going, oh yeah, oh shit, what are we doing here? We're cannon fodder, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite good. The the sort of monster effects do vary quite a bit. Towards the end, when you see the thing sort of scurrying around, I don't know if you saw this on YouTube or TikTok or whatever. There was a thing, like a Halloween prank where somebody had this sort of giant spider costume that they put on their dog.
Oh yeah.
And then let it run around the streets, and then that's what it reminded me of. Is this thing sort of chasing after them? I'm thinking, there's probably little corgi or something under that thing being enticed.
It did look like there was somebody under there scurrying around.
It did, yeah.
Well, I found that quite charming.
Yeah, it was quite fun actually. Yeah, and the attacks by that point were getting more and more gruesome, sort of full on. So yeah, no, it's a good fun little flick, but I can imagine a lot of people just kind of look at it and go, "Oh, it's crap." But if you're a creature feature fan, I think it's a lot to like it.
I'll just sort of weigh in on a few of my thoughts. I did see it when it came out, and I wasn't overly impressed with it then, and I'm still not, to be honest. I think I found a bit more to enjoy this time. I thought the script was a bit snappier. I didn't really pay much attention to the script previously, but I thought it was a bit of an effort with the script and some interesting stuff I'm trying to go for. As you say, it is all variations on the thing, aliens and whatnot. But and it is the kind of movie that makes me think I should really be watching The Last Winter again by Larry Fessenden.
Oh yeah,
that kind of has the same. They kind of had the same kind of conversations and stuff in that movie. It's the same kind of idea, except in that it's sort of ghosts coming out of the Bifrost or whatever, and in this it's a giant trilobite. It is an interesting, or trilobite. It is an interesting creature because we haven't seen any movies with that kind of creature before. And the John Cole Beekler, who's the director, he's Mr. Special Effects and prosthetics and stuff. So
yeah,
some of that stuff is really well done. Like you say, the sort of emerging from the body. Am I right that it comes out of someone's body at some point?
Yeah, it comes out of that girl's chest.
Yeah. So I was just checking because I wasn't sure whether I was mixing it up with something else. But I thought that was well executed, but it's quite restrained. There's not a lot of it, but I don't think I had a huge amount of money to play with. So like you guys, I think the sort of over editing of when the attacks happen and adding all these sort of effects in was a bit unnecessary.
I wish they'd explained it, but maybe there was some sort of endorphins, so it was spreading to their bodies or something. It was just weird.
Yeah, they don't really make much of it. But I quite like Gertz Otto is the German sort of. He's not really the lead because this is more of an ensemble. He sort of starts out with one character.
Yeah, it's like who's left at the end kind of thing, isn't it? Yeah.
But I quite like seeing him in sort of a key role. He kind of goes a bit mad as the film goes on, which I quite like.
Yeah.
He was Stamper in Tomorrow Never Dies.
Oh yeah.
And he's done lots of stuff, especially in Germany. So I quite like seeing him. He did a very odd Polish-French action movie called Gun Blast Vodka, which was never released as far as I'm aware in the UK. That's one of his only other leading roles. It's not great. I wouldn't. It's not a film. I don't think it's a film I'd recommend somebody spend the time unless they're really interested in like seeing.
If you like creature features sort of thing, and you haven't seen it, just for completists.
John Carpenter fans.
Yeah, exactly.
He did Friday the 13th Part 7. I don't know if you know.
I haven't got that far yet.
And Ghoulies Go to College, which is a favourite of mine.
Never mind. Okay, so we don't score the throwbacks, but we kind of recommend you check it out. You'll find this one on Amazon Prime if you're a subscriber and you like creature features and you haven't quite got round to this one yet. It's probably worth checking out.
Can I just also mention that there's an article by our friends over at the Schlock Pit about the film. It's got some interesting observations and trivia in that.
We can link to that in the footnotes as well. Don't mind.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, and that is the end of this week's show. So thanks to Rich and Steve. Luckily, no zeros and ones in this week's show.
Literally and
pretty
figuratively.
Yeah, pretty good, solid selection this week. So yeah, that's about the size of it. Don't forget to check out the Facebook and Twitter pages for the DTV Digest. Also check out our sister show. There will be a new episode dropping soon of the Short Shots, and another one that me and Rich are sort of planning to record soon. And don't forget to check out the Short Shots own Twitter page, where Rich puts a link to a new short every evening. Thank you for listening. Tune in next time.
Thank you for listening to the DTV Digest. Let us know your thoughts in the comments and tune in again next time.